Hey guys, welcome to another video. I'm Chris, this is the Salty Trips channel, and today we are replacing a black tank valve on our 2020 Keystone Cougar 315 RLS. If you've found this video, you're either probably going to change out the black tank valve, want to know how, or maybe you're just curious to see how this goes. So stick around and we'll show you what we're doing. And the first thing that we're doing is we are flushing out the black tank. If you don't have one of these Rhino blasters, I highly recommend that you get one. Right now it's just filling up the black tank with clean water. I've already done it a couple times. I want to make sure it's spick and span in there before I pull the old valve out. I don't want to have to deal with any oopsies. So hopefully it should be pretty clean and sanitary. Well, it's not going to be perfectly sanitary, but as sanitary as we possibly can make it before we pull that old valve out. So, but it's really nice to have one of these as you're filling it. I got a flow meter to tell me how much water I'm putting in there. Our black tank holds about 38 gallons, so I usually put about 35 gallons in, and then I opened up this gate valve and just rinse it out. And also that one, the handle broke on it, so I have a new one of those. We're going to replace that, but that's super easy, and I'll show you at the end. The Rhino blaster is a must-have in an RV. It's one of those things like you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So if you ever have a clog or issue like that, it'll help you clean it out. So this is our last flush. It was pretty clean, the last one, so I'm assuming this last one's going to be pretty clean, and then we're going to get to it. But real quick, we're going to go over, like, how do you know your black tank's leaking? Well, like, every time you move from place to place, and if you don't have one of these, if you have one of these like gate valves, and every time you open it up, water comes out, that means that one of your valves probably inside here is leaking. I did a little test, and I closed that one, and I kept getting some like dirty water. You can see it's got a clear line, so you can see what's going on, but I kept getting some, you know, yucky water that would settle down in there. So I know that eventually if I just left it open, all the water would just drain out. It would cause major problems for your black tank. So you want to make sure that, you know, your black tank always has water in it, and that's so it can liquefy everything and stuff will come out. Otherwise it'll pile up in there and become really gross and hard to clean out. That's how I found out that it was leaking. So I'm just going to replace the whole thing. And we have the tankless water heater, which we go through a lot of water when my wife likes to take long showers. So I'm having to dump the gray tanks every other day, but we have to keep this valve closed because the black tank's leaking, and this stops it from coming out. And so that means that we can't just leave the gray tank open, which you can if you're showering often and stuff like that. You can leave your gray tank for your shower open. But if you have like a separate gray tank for your sink, I probably leave that one closed because it's got food particles and stuff in there. You want to that stuff to kind of liquefy so that when it drains out. But, like, you know, showering is mostly just soap and water. So you can leave that open and let that stuff drain out. So that's what will hopefully help with this, is I won't have to come out here every other day. I can just leave that gray tank open, leave the black tank closed, and we should be safe. The valve comes right through there underneath this panel, then rotates around, and you can see it right down here. So we're gonna have to cut on the bottom to reach it, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's some cables right there, so we have to be careful not to cut those cables when we slice through that. So we'll be real careful about that, and we're going to cut an access on the bottom. But first I'm going to show you all the new parts. All right, that's the new gate valve for on the outside, and this is our Valterra gate valve with the cable, a 72-inch cable. And all you're really going to need, it only takes really 4 bolts to hold it in, and just this locking nut to hold it in place for where it attaches to the wall. But you should only need like 2 17/16, a socket and wrench, a razor knife to cut the bottom to give access, pair of pliers or a crescent wrench or something just to tighten down this nut. And we are going to use some Eternabond to tape it back up when we're done. And also you'll need, it comes with a little Allen wrench to tighten this down. And basically how this works, you loosen up these nuts right here, that slides into this hole and then that cable slides into there. And I'll turn it back over, and you can see there's a Allen set screw right there that we will, once it's in there, you'll tighten down and tighten these bolts down, and it'll clamp it all together, and that's what actuates the gate valve up and down. And basically you just pull the old, unbolt these out of the old one, slide this one back in with these seals, one on each side, and then put it in, bolt it back up. So we'll get to it. Well, it looks like somebody's already accessed this before, because you see the tape up. That means this panel's probably already cut out for me, so I may not even have to cut that out. I wonder if they replaced the valve once already. It looks like a flap. Maybe that's not the first time this has been done. Yep, see, there's the valve. That's probably not the first time this thing has been replaced. And it's the same exact valve, so I may reuse that cable. I don't know, I'm thinking about it, just save me time, because the old cable is working just fine. All right, we're gonna start with the top ones. That'll probably be the most difficult to do. All right, and actually I'm gonna get before I take these bottom bolts off, I'm gonna get a rag, so if anything drops out, it'll drip on that. All right, I'm back. I got a rag. And you guys may ask, like, why aren't you using gloves? Because, I don't know, I have garbage dexterity in my hands. With gloves on, it's hard for me to turn nuts and bolts and hold stuff. So I do have some disinfectant wipes to wipe down and clean off. I'm just gonna wash up afterwards. It's just one of those kind of dirty deals. So, and let's see if I can just, yeah, these all look super clean, so I'm thinking this is not replaced too long ago. I wonder why it's leaking then, if it's fairly new. Maybe not installed correctly, I don't know. But we're gonna put another one in, because I don't want to have to keep dumping the gray tank all the time. Hopefully nothing yucky comes out of here. And you want to make sure that valve is closed so that it doesn't roll on you. Yeah, see, that seal is jacked up. That's why it doesn't want to come out. See, the seal was all messed up. That's why it didn't want to come out. Handy wipes to the rescue. And we just need to take this old one off. We'll start by taking this cable off and just using that little Allen wrench to loosen up the set screw. And then mine doesn't, the new one doesn't have this on there, but you see that just holds together like that. Pull that off. Voila. I think I'm just going to reuse this one just to make it easier. Just going to put the new one in. Put that in the hole. Tighten this up. Set screw. Make sure that's all the way in. And just tighten up these screws. If we ever did have issues with the cable, now we have an extra cable. So I don't want to replace it if we don't need to. I think what I'm going to do to help install this thing is I'm going to put these in here, which I'm going to install the bolt back in like this. and then another one like this backwards, and then it'll help push it. We can use it to push these things apart so that it'll make room for put the new valve in. And I'll show you what that looks like when I do this. And see, I've created a wedge, and I can slowly crank on these to spread it apart. Okay, I got the rubber on the valve, and I got these spaced as far apart as I pretty much can. You want to make sure that gets a good seal, and the seals are in there. You can see them now. The seals are in place all the way around, and that just helps push those apart like that. You just basically becomes a wedge. You just unscrew that one and it pushes it back and forth. And like, I know I've seen a lot of people take like big blocks and a freaking jack and try to push these things apart, but two little screw wedges did the job. At this point, we just take those bolts out, and they should just come right back together. Well, I hope that was a little handy trick. Just be careful though when you are wedging those apart. Don't put too much pressure, because you break one of these little tabs off, then you're replacing that whole flange. So just be very careful with that. It worked perfectly this time. Hopefully save you some trouble just to get that. So just be careful if you do that method. Just go real slow, not put too much pressure on them, just enough to get the valve in. And we're just gonna put these bolts on hand tight before we snug them down. Got this hand tight. Now we're just gonna snug these up. All right, so we got that all snugged up. Now let's go actuate it to make sure it's gonna work right. It seems to be moving pretty smooth. Now here's the thing. We will take, oh, let's check for leaks now. That's the black tank flush. So we're just putting water in the black tank flush right now, and I don't see any water coming out of here. And then we're gonna go check on the bottom, see if we see any leaks coming out of there. I don't see anything dripping down there. So it doesn't look like we have any leaks down here, and I don't see any leaks underneath the bottom. We are gonna leave that flap under there open probably for a couple days, just to make sure that we don't have any issues. It's not freezing or anything like that around here. You know, we're in Florida, so we don't really have to worry about that. But I'm just gonna leave it open and just check on it, make sure we don't have any drippage or anything like that before I button it back up. And I'm just gonna put I'm gonna flap it back up and just put Eternabond on it and close it back up so the water stopped. So what I'll probably do is, I'm gonna replace this valve real quick, but I'll probably leave this one closed for the next day or two, and to see if anything drains in there. And then if I don't get any drainage in there, we know the valve's working and we're good to go. And that's when I'll button up the bottom. All right, I already washed my hands once, so I'm putting gloves on for this next one. But if you found that helpful, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, all that fancy jazz. Please give this video a big thumbs up so it spreads and helps more people. But we're gonna change out this valve here. And like I always say, thanks for coming along. We really appreciate all your support and leaving positive comments and feedback and letting us know how you enjoy the channel. We're always doing RVs, trucks, travel, towing, all that mess. We do some adventures. It's not always projects, but we do a lot of projects. So, and we always try to share those with you guys. All right, now we're just going to replace this valve and just pull that off, set that aside. Pop that off. And you want to make sure these things go all the way on. And this valve right here is basically just so when we use like the Rhino Blaster, well, it was an emergency use for, because the black tank valve leaked. It's a secondary valve, but also when you clean out your black tank, you hook the hose up to your Rhino Blaster here, you close this valve so it fills up the water in your blaster. I got a whole nother video about how to use this Rhino Blaster. I'll link it in the description below in case you ever get any clogs, or you just want a good clean out. This is a must-have for RV life, especially if you're full-time, even part-time, I would, or just weekend warrior stuff. It's just good to have. It doesn't take up a lot of space, but it will save you in a crunch. All right, guys, that's going to wrap things up. If you have any questions about what I did and what was going on, leave them down in the comment section below. And I'll leave links to all the products, the valves and stuff that I use, the Rhino Blaster and all that mess, down in the description area below in case you want to check that out and get one for yourself. I hope that was helpful. We have lots more to come, so stick around, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.